So the title of the talk apparently is a little bit misleading in the sense that this is what was planned for me to present, but myself and my students, we only got access to Mathematica Online yesterday. So there was no in-class experience yet with Mathematica Online, although I use Mathematica all the time, and I would rather talk more about where I am as a teacher and where I would like to be. And the main question I would like to address is how Mathematica Online can possibly help me to move in the direction where I want to be. And maybe Mathematica Online can help me define where I want to be. But over and over, over the past years, I thought about different pieces of the course and of the teaching arrangements. And I thought, well, why don't I just replace this with Mathematica? Why don't I use Mathematica instead? And there are all kinds of challenges with that proposition, and I will try to describe the challenges and overall kind of situation around the use of Mathematica and Mathematica Online in particular. So there are basic building blocks as I consider the static parts of the course. So there is course management system. Well, of course, the natural thing to have in class. And we currently use Blackboard, and I use it to the very minimum. I just pull the class roster, and it allows me to authenticate students and check if they are in my class or not. And I use it for basic class announcements. So it's the very, very minimal usage. The reason for that is that I believe it's of very low quality, and I mean the software is of very low quality, and the expectation is very low, and the system is basically enforced by university. But basically that's the only place where I can pull the roster, the list of the students. So I have to use it. It has to be on my list. The homework tests. I put them together because I believe in the need for consistency in the course. Whatever I want students to be able to do on the tests, I would like them to practice during the homework. And I don't believe in the idea that, oh, you do those homework problems from the textbook, but then on the test I will give you some innovative problems to work on. So that's the reason for them to be together. And again, I use online homework delivery system. I currently use WebAssign. It does pretty good job of having the problems delivered, randomized for each student, so that each problem is uses different numbers, but under the same template, and different students get different versions of the same problem. And it works for both homeworks and the tests. The numerical answers are graded automatically, so it takes off load from me about grading the answers. The grade book is there. It works fine. I can set it up the way I want it. And one of the most important things, all the technical issues are resolved by that system, by WebAssign. Any problem student experiences with the system, student doesn't contact me, contacts WebAssign, they resolve it. I am not involved in that process at all. So that's a great benefit, in my view, in comparison to anything homegrown. I have a colleague in my department who does a system on his own machine and has a complicated setup of delivering homework problems. So any question about a student running a laptop, running Ubuntu operating system, right, at 2 a.m. in the morning, 5 minutes before the deadline, and submitting the file through the slow connection, well, things happen, right? And I don't want to deal with those things. So that's why I'm using one of the homework delivery systems. It is about testing basic skills. I don't consider this system being the kind of the goal in the sense of assessment. Most of the grade in the class comes from what I grade and what I believe the student understands or not from the explanations and not from final answer. But students still like getting some positive grade, non-zero grade for the right answer. And I'm willing to do that and to give them that opportunity, and that makes them happy, that makes me happy, so that's fine. And for engineers, and most of my students are engineers, it is important to get the right answer, so this system has a good place in the class, and I think it values about less than 20% of the grade altogether over the course, and I don't mind that. Now the next thing is the videos. I eventually recorded the lectures, live lectures of myself, and then decided to replace the lectures with those videos so that in class we do some more problem-solving activities so that students solve problems and I help them doing that, and that's how the class is organized. But then I need a space to store videos. Can that be Wolfram Cloud? I don't think so for this moment, right? So maybe eventually, but YouTube is a perfect place. So I use YouTube, and every student knows what it is. And the important thing that I just realized this morning is that I've never heard any complaint from a student about YouTube. They do complain about the homework online system, about my website, about university website being slow, being cranky, being this and that. I know YouTube can be slow. I mean, I experienced that. I've never heard from students. So that tells you about their beliefs, their expectations, and their tolerance to different systems, right? So YouTube is a good place. Everybody is okay with having videos there and having my lectures on the YouTube. Great, so I use it. The Mathematica files, well, of course, not everything can be said and not everything should be said. Something should be written, and like formulas and stuff. So I prepared those. I call them lecture notes, but basically those are materials I wanted to present to students, some computations, some sample solutions, some explanations. And over time, it becomes a large collection of files, hundreds of files. The questions are, where should I store them so that the students have simple access to the files? How to organize all these files. And there are, of course, the standard way to organize is according to the time, right? The time of the course goes on, and you organize it linearly, but then at the end, I would like them to see connections between different topics. I would like them to see how chapter 1 is connected to chapter 7, right? And it becomes organization more complex than just linear. It becomes basically a graph, right? That I would like eventually for them to understand how all things are connected. And I hope the software can support this kind of presentation. Presentation as a complex system, not just a linear sequence of chapter 1, chapter 2. I currently organize all that stuff on the Google website, and it plays well with the necessity to have those videos and the notebook files organized kind of around the same thing. So basically, Google ends up being currently the place for me to organize all the course materials. Although a challenge is to connect that to the homework system, because the homework system is closed. right? I cannot give a link from my Google website to the homework, and I can give a link from the homework to Google website, but the homework system is usually so close that everything needs to be done there by hand, and it's very tedious, and I just don't have time to do that. So this connection is is a challenge. Now, the other bunch of Mathematica files are basically, you can think of them as streaming over time during the semester. Those are the files where students work. They do the homework in the files, they do the quizzes in the class, they do the tests in those Mathematica files, they submit them to me, and I'm getting those in bunches, like 30 files at a time, 60 files at a time. The same questions, where do I store? And most importantly, how do I communicate with the student about that file? The challenge here is that I currently use Google Drive. I could have used Dropbox or something else, but the challenge is that any system like that treats Mathematica as the foreign system, and therefore it's as probably good as sending by email back and forth, but once you begin sending by email, it's a lot of, even sharing on Google Drive, it's a lot of things to organize, and well, it is not obvious, but I probably have to tell you that it is quite a challenge to make the class of students name file in a certain way, right? Never happens, right? It doesn't matter how I explain it. I explain, name your file, your last name, underscore your first name. What do I get as a result? Most of them, yes, they do it the right way. Some of them ask, can you tell me again? Can you show me example? Yes, I can. I write, if that were me, Brodskiy underscore Nikolay. And guess what? One or two students will name their file Brodskiy underscore Nikolay, right? So I'm just giving this example to illustrate the difficulty of delegation to the students. It doesn't work. I mean, you are saving some time, but afterwards you are spending more time fixing things and searching for things, because they share a file with you which starts with test. And it's just literally test. Not test 1, not test 2, not last name, not first name, just test, right? How do you find it? I have zillions of those tests over the years, right? I mean, it's all on Google. I can Google it, and I get those lists and lists. And so, I wish I can master this art of delegation, but it just doesn't work with the students. And the last static piece is the forum. This is really the piece that students appreciate. They like it, they use it. Probably it doesn't really matter where that forum is. I use Google just because a lot of services that I use are Google-based. And since I use Google Drive, students have to have a Google account, so Google Forum is good. But again, that's, can I do that in Mathematica Online? Probably not at this time, right? So what I'm saying is that there are pieces that I hope I can do much better with Mathematica Online, but there are lots of pieces that cannot be done at this point, and I will have to live for several years with all these pieces present. Now, what it means is that for students, they do have to learn all these pieces, and there will be one extra piece, Mathematica Online. So Mathematica Online for them comes as piece number 6 in the long list of where to go. They have to go to course management system to get this. They have to go to homework online system to do the homework, and then they watch video here, they read files there, they submit files in totally different place. So it is pretty complicated, right? And and at some point, some of the students get overwhelmed and they forget and they just don't do it on the first time. And so those are the challenges, and that's why I just don't want to add, or rather, I would like to be very careful about what to add and what to try. And so that was basically the static part of all the pieces. Now let me talk about the dynamics, what actually happens in the class. And I would like to separate out of class this column of 3 things that happen only out of class. The course management system, well, I never asked them to do anything with that. All announcements are out of class. The videos, of course, they don't watch videos in class, and the forum is solely for out-of-class communication. So those 3 pieces are naturally only out of class. Both pieces are things that I normally use both out of class and in class. And those involve the homework, quizzes, tests that happen in class and at home. Files can be viewed, and I would like them sometimes to refer to these files in class. And of course, the files they work out during class should be submitted during class as well as at home. So the only in-class pieces are going to be file sharing, although file sharing happens out of class also. But what I'm talking here is kind of real-time file sharing when we decide that, oh, we are done with this topic, so let's have a quiz. And how do I do the quiz? Well, I want them to work in those files, and what I would like to have is ability to automatically create a file. So suppose I have a template of a file with a quiz. I would like that file to be copied for as many times as the number of students I have and shared with those students. And I would like that work to be done automatically. So that's, I think, what Mathematica Online should be able to do, and I'm looking forward to automate that process. Now, the collaboration is interesting piece, and I was quite surprised how useful it was in the usual classroom. Although I run it in computer lab because I want students to work on with Mathematica during the class. I always thought, well, if I am really in the class and all the students are here and I have 30 of them, so it's not like a big crowd, why do I need online collaboration during the class? Well, I do need it because in order to check what goes on with all the students, I have to run, right? I have to walk around, and I have to kind of zoom into what they're doing, and I have to understand where they are and decide whether the student needs some help or not, and then go to the next one. It takes a lot of time. Whatever time it takes to look at one screen, multiply by 30, and that's just the time to look it over, not even to start helping. So I found it very beneficial to just check everything on my teacher's computer. So at the time I was working with Google Documents, so I would share 30 documents. I will open all the 30 documents on my screen, and I will click, 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 and 30 clicks can be done in very short time in comparison to running around and looking. And then another piece that I found useful was, yes, having that individual sharing and watching what every student is doing, but then having one file shared with everybody. And I would look at typical challenges students are having. I would copy-paste their piece of work from their individual file to the common file and bring it up to the class and start discussion in a very anonymous way, right? I'm bringing this piece, And I'm asking everybody, well, what do you all think? Right? What should we do in this situation? And everybody is on pretty much the same page, but it's it's very it's very different from the situation when I just write something on the board and ask everybody, and well, there are many little aspects for why I like it. I just like it, and another aspect of the same story is when I teach online, right? Online course is a totally different challenge in many respects, but in class, kind of during class, we do the video conferencing, and now Google allows to have video conferencing with up to 10 students, so it works perfectly for my graduate class right now, and it currently allows to stream and record the session directly to YouTube, so that all I need to do is click record button at the beginning, click stop button at the end, and all 3 hours of this one of the class are there. And there is nothing I have to do about video editing, conversion, uploading. Everything is done automatically. So that's great, and that's Google, right? So again, it's just another piece where I don't expect Wolfram Cloud to be dealing with video conferencing and video streaming, but that means that Google will be present in my system. So it will be nice to have at least some some integration, some relationship between Wolfram Cloud and Google. At the minimum, the possibility of embedding videos into Mathematica files in the cloud. So that's basically where I am. I see I have 1 minute left, and I would just wrap it up with basically a question that I would be happy to discuss. Where can I improve the whole thing? What can I replace with Mathematica? What can I do better going forward? Right? Because now you have a much better picture of where I am, and I would appreciate any comments. And I just can't stand of not mentioning that story. The class I taught last week started with, again, that video conferencing and Google Hangout that I started, and I started recording. And then a student is late. And then apparently the student is not joining the Hangout, is not joining the class. But the student is typing something in the chat to everybody. And we are all kind of not clear why is it joining, why is it that the student is not joining. Apparently when the student goes to Google account and sees the invitation to the Hangout, there are 2 buttons when I record the Hangout. One button is to join, and another button is to play the recording, because the recording is immediately available. So the student, instead of clicking the join, clicked the recording and started playing, and the student was always 2 or 3 minutes behind what was going on. So his submissions were always like 2 or 3 minutes behind. And then at some point, the student was curious, well, why is it that he's asking questions and nobody reacts to it? And the teacher is so ignorant, and right? So, well, thank you.